Hey everyone, it's great to see you again. My name is Kirryn and this is the Standout Effect. It's the chance to meet with leaders and to find out what are the brands that are standing out and what are they doing. Now today I'm with someone who is a very special friend of mine. Now Leanne Christie, for those of you that don't know her, is the chief of everything O. Now what she does is she's worked in the speaking industry for over 30 years, for everything from a speakers bureau
And now a speaker management company and speaker coaching company.
And Leanne is also one of those people that you are so grateful to know. One of the nicest people and so generous. So thank you for being a part of this interview today. It's
Pleasure.
great.
Hello everyone.
So tell us a little bit about speaker industry, 30 years. It's a long time.
Yeah, it is, isn't
A
it?
long time. So what is it that makes you so passionate about the speaking industry?
I think for me, it's because it's the industry that so happened to line up with my values that I didn't even know I valued so much at the time, because I was, 23 when I first got into it or something. I am a lifelong learner and I love learning. And so without me knowing or trying, I love it. I didn't really realise that was such a good choice to find something that lines up with your values. I know it might seem very basic, but at 23 I wasn't thinking I need a career that lines up with my values. So I'm not taking credit for it. I'm sure the angels did that for me, but I'm really grateful.
Yeah. And so from that time of working both with really incredible speakers, I know a few of them, amazing speakers you've worked with, not only today but throughout the years, not only in Australia but around the world. Internationally. Why is it so important to build a profile, to be known, to get people to know about you? You know, this whole concept of personal branding, like what does that mean? It's about building a profile, creating a reputation, being known as an expert or being known as what we're calling a thought leader these days. What is it that is so important, particularly in today's context, about building a brand?
I think one of the things that's really important about that is it's something that you do have control about, right? So you feel like you don't have control because when you hear people talking about a brand, they talk about like it's how people describe you when you're not in the room. So that is your true brand.
Yes.
Is that you're the guru?
Absolutely.
That's true, right? And so you could feel like hopeless or helpless or why bother? No control. But if you really think about it, it's the opposite. Because who I am, how I behave, so for me, generosity is one of my values, right? And you picked up on it. Everybody might have seen my eyes lit up. It's like, yes, nailed it, right? So for that to be part of my brand, the generosity, that's who I am.
Yes.
Because your brand has to be truly who you are. Yeah. Now I'm forgetting even what the question is.
That's so good.
But you can affect your brand.
Yes.
So when, let's say...
And why is that important? About how... So what you're saying there is that first step is knowing who I am.
Yes.
And then the second step is being intentional and strategic about amplifying that or controlling the process of it.
And take it away from... What is it? There's something about the branding, and I know that you'd feel the same, that feels false. Okay, so can you feel I'm coming at it from a whole nother angle? So my brand is who I really am.
Yep.
And if I wanted people to know who I really am, I need to step up and take responsibility for that.
Correct.
So it's a whole different way of perhaps seeing branding than most people would think.
I love that.
Do you?
I love that.
Well, it puts you in the driver's seat.
Yes.
It gives you control rather than taking it away.
Yes.
Because I know some people, when they hear the definition of branding about what people say about you when you're not around, they're like, well, I can't control that.
Yes.
And it's such a cop-out.
Yeah.
No. Show up who you are with your values and what's important to you.
I love that because, in this context of the age of social media where everyone is trying to be known to create a brand or, to put things out there so people know, like and trust them and want to work with them. But what is one of the roadblocks that people find is that they lose confidence or they're afraid. Yeah. And what you're saying there is that actually, no, flip that around.
Yeah, and take control. So, because I've been in the industry for a while, of course, there was no social media. I mean, there wasn't even computers. Like, you got no idea how old I am. There wasn't even a fax machine, okay? I started on 3x5 cards in a little thing, and I'd write AMP, training manager. I can even remember his name. He's well retired. But so where could you affect your brand there? Let's just go back and see what lesson we can take from the past, okay? When you turn up at a venue as a speaker or at work as a leader, who turns up? Who turns up? So if you say it's important for you as leadership, is that who you are? Is that who you show? Is that... So, for instance, I was talking before, while we were setting up, we're talking about where we're at in life now, and I was sharing with you this year, one of the things I'm working on is, working with the overwhelm, right? Because I don't want to be showing up overwhelmed.
Yes.
The truth is, with the US business, the Australian business, being a mum, daughter starting a new school, I can come in some days and my head's still a little bit, how's she going at a new school? And it's who I am. They all know I'm a mum, I own that totally. But not the overwhelm part. Yeah? So it's just being mindful. All the time.
And I think there's that concept of that you are, I've read a term recently, like you're the custodian or the guardian of your brand. So how do you show up? Which, the reality is, what you're saying is you're Leanne mum, you're Leanne wife, you're Leanne friend, but you're also Leanne boss. And so when you come to work, you're thinking about, so what elements am I going to bring to show up? And I love that because that when you think about the online world, it's the same. You're thinking about, am I in my personal world or professional world? And so what elements am I going to take control of to amplify so that people will know, like, and trust me?
Can I give you an example from yesterday? I hope this is not taking too long, but one of the speakers that I've worked with, I don't know how many years, maybe 10 years, but she's been a friend since we were both 21. Okay, I've known her a long time. Lisa McInnes-Smith, some of the people would know of her. So we had a meeting yesterday with the team, right, because we manage her speaking. So Lisa is all day with different clients. She's on this board, right? So she's been in a board meeting all day. You can imagine. And we talked about this later. So for her, when she came into this space to meet the team, what does she need to do? Does she turn up as a board member, boom boom, because she's been bored out of her brain all day, or did she turn up as, I'm a performance person, let's do that? She walked in here with such energy that when she walked out, the team said, don't you just love being around her energy? That's her brand. So she chose to make sure that it was a brand. Another thing, generosity is her brand, right? It's very much about her values. She's always giving gifts, isn't she? So I don't know how or when or where she made time. Somehow between the last meeting and with us, she went into a shop and she bought all these little presents. And she put them in a gorgeous bag and she came in and she said, everyone, lucky dip, take a thing, and she gave us all these little presents. And then she played it as a game, and so we all got a present. She said, who doesn't like it? Come on, put your hand up, put it back in, take another one. That's who she is and owning it. So I want to go back to pre-social media because we can learn from them. That's very important. So as a speaker, when you turn up at the event, who turns up? I remember from many years ago, you talk about time management and you come late. You talk about customer service and you swear somewhere along the line. Who turns up? You talk about brand. You turn up authentically as yourself and your brand. As a leader, Yeah. So when you're on stage, when you're off stage. So I just want to talk about the pre-social media, because I know that you do the social media, but I think it comes from who we really are. And then social media is just an amplification of that.
Yes.
Yeah? And something that you can control. Yes. Hit the delete button.
Yes, exactly. And it's perfect what you said, because for everyone listening, I do talk about branding and in the age of social media, and that's exactly what I say, about, yes.
Do you say it's amplification?
Amplification.
Of who you are?
Yes,
oh,
yes. I know,
really?
exactly.
I had no idea.
And I think and to take away the mystery, that it's almost like, to get onto social media, do I need a special master's in, how to create? The reality is knowing who you are, and then how do you amplify that? And what we're saying is also knowing what to amplify at what time. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about some digital examples.
Okay.
Who do you know that's out there in the digital world? So from what they're doing, how they're positioning themselves, whether it's on LinkedIn or Instagram, that's doing it really well.
All right. So, 2 examples. One, because I know that you've got a lot of small business people that follow you. So, Johnny Cupcakes I worked with for a long time. And
Johnny Cupcakes.
You do?
Yes.
Do you talk about him much to people?
I do,
They've heard about him? So, have a look at his feed. If you're thinking, my business is too small, okay? He's got a T-shirt business.
Yeah.
That's not General Motors, is it?
Yeah.
Right? It's T-shirts. It's also something that many people have. So how do you make yourself different? So I like, that you use him as an example too, because again, it's overcoming that thing of, I can't and they're different, right? Which we have to claim that back. Well, you're different too. So having a look at his feeds, he does a intersection of everything that's about his brand and how that's cool, because he does do cool T-shirts, but how he does cool. So his T-shirt, Cupcakes, comes from, it's a long story, you'll see it on his thing, but it's like make cupcakes, not war, and and fun things. He does really fun things with, and a lot of people think that it's a real cupcake shop, and it's not. It's just T-shirts, and he's got this sort of a brand, fun name, Johnny Cupcakes. Yeah. So, but there's also some of Johnny in there. Yeah. He's been through a harder time recently, and he's shared quite a bit of that on social media too. Some, family tragedy stuff that's really sad, and we can all be there, and it's all worked out much better now, which is great. Yeah. So there's the brand of his business, but who is Johnny, and how do you do that together? And I think that he's a good example of that. Yeah. Another example for me at the moment, I am following and loving Mel Robbins, and I mentioned to you too, as a friend that you might...
Checking that out, Mel Robbins.
Yes, Mindset Reset. So when I was looking at what I was going to do in January for my goal setting stuff, and I wanted to do something different, and I'd been following Mel a bit, and I thought I'll do her Mindset Reset instead of like the usual goal setting, and I'll take it from there. Yeah. So what she decided to do is, for a whole month, she did live.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Live for a whole month, and just took different topics. Yeah. Free training. Yeah. Guess how many people signed up, I said to you? 250,000. Over 250,000.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Amazing. Could you imagine just the gathering of ideas that would come from that many people? Amazing.
So she teaches me a lot. If you have a look at her Mindset Reset and you see how she turns up every day, she really just turns up however she is. Yes. Okay. So she's running from airport to sometimes she's at home, sometimes she's in an airport, sometimes she's in a hotel room, and no fuss. She literally turns up how she is.
Wow.
And just gives content. She gives really good content. Really digs into how can I share and how can I help these people grow. And I get that from her, that's what she wants to do. So there's a couple of examples.
Yeah, they're great. So I guess from just summarising what we've talked about. So it's being able to tap into knowing, first of all, who am I? What is remarkable about me? What's unique? What's different? Being able to express that, knowing the right times to do that, always showing up, like being the guardian or the champion of your own brand. And we've seen some great examples. Is there anything else that, in terms of like a really great parting thought that you might have for a leader out there who is trying to build their own brand in this digital space and maybe feels a little bit unsure? What kind of encouragement would you give that person about giving it a go?
Yeah. Just so that you can start, no, you don't have to become somebody.
Yeah.
Or be somebody.
Yeah.
Who are you? Be you. You really are enough. You wouldn't have this business. You wouldn't have that position in leadership if you weren't. And we talk about this quite a lot, don't we?
We do.
Right? We are sometimes better than we know. With me, you remind me that I know more than I think I know. Because it's what we do every day. And I know that you're sitting there, you know, in that business doing what you do every day and you don't think it's special. But other people don't do that every day. That's what you've got to think about. So how can you share just who you are and what you're about? You don't have to become anything. And I think that's the danger in how we overwhelm ourselves. We think we have to become something. Be you.
And this is why I love Leanne so much, because that is such a great message. Just be you. You know, and I think once you zone into what people know, what they've experienced, and also what is entirely uniquely them, like that can't be replicated, really, when you get down to the nuts and bolts.
That's how it gets to be unique.
Yeah. And so I think then it's having the confidence to do it, having the confidence to champion it. And what you just said then was sometimes it's helpful to have someone to mirror it back to you, because sometimes you just can't see it. It's like the forest factor, the forest for the trees. And that's why good friends, mentors, coaches are so vital, aren't they, to be able to...
branding champion.
Branding champion. Get someone to speak at your conference, I don't know, to your leaders. That would be awesome. But thank you so much for today. I hope you guys have got great value out of this discussion. And stay tuned for more. Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.